Okay, Sarah, which one shall I read next? You go and pick one. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Britt and it is time for another reading challenge because I am going to tackle my TBR this week and try to read lots of short books. Sometimes it just feels good to, finish a couple of books of your big physical TBR, and short books definitely help with that. So I've made a little TBR, and should I finish all of these books, maybe I will pick up one of the two books that I'm going to show you right now, because this video is kindly sponsored by Book of the Month. Here is a very blue box. I love it. If you don't know Book of the Month, they are a really amazing US-based book service for readers, and every single month that team goes through dozens of new releases. They pick their most favorite ones, and you can get those in hardcover. They will be shipped right to your doorstep. Do keep in mind that Book of the Month currently only ships to the US, but now also to Canada, which is super exciting. The best thing is that if you use the code BRIT, you can get your first book for only $9.99. It is also completely risk-free, so if you would like to skip a month, that is absolutely no problem. You will not be charged, and you can just start whenever you want again. So let's take a look at two of the books that I picked for this month's selection. The first one is called Independence. This one is written by Chitra Banerjee Divakanuri. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. It says, three sisters, their deep bond, and the struggle for India's freedom. This one sounded incredibly interesting and touching. I'm very excited to read this. And the second one, honestly, I'm loving this cover. It is called Queen of Thieves, written by B.Z. Marsh. There can only be one. Both of these are historical fiction books, hence why I picked them, because I love historical fiction. So if you would like to try out Book of the Month, don't forget to use my code BRIT to get your first book for $9.99. And I will keep you updated on my reading this week. If I finish all my short books, I will pick up one of these books, but I have quite a few books on my TBR, so we'll see. But thank you again so much, Book of the Month, for working with me on this video. I'm so grateful. So now let's go and take a look at the books that I really want to read this week. Okay, so I've been through my bookshelf and I found a couple of short books that I'm going to take with me to my parents' house this weekend and to my friend's house where I'm going to be cat sitting for the week. These are all very short books, so we'll see how many I'll be able to read. The first one is Patti Smith's Devotion. This is a little short story book all about why it's like why I write. And this is about Patti Smith's inspiration, where she gets her creativity from, just some more things about her life, and I always love reading about her life. Next up, we have some poems. This is selected poems by Rainer Maria Rilke. I have read Rilke's Letters to a Young Poet this year and absolutely loved it, so I really wanted to pick up some of his other works, and this is just a short collection of his poetry. I don't really read that much poetry, so I'm excited to, dive into this one. Then we have another non-fiction book. I'm very much into non-fiction memoirs. This is called The Years, written by Annie Ernaux. I don't know who she is, but I wanted to buy it because of the cover. Her life through the lens of memory, impressions, past and present, cultural habits, language, photos, books, songs, radio, television. She's going to be talking all about her life. I'm going to look up a little bit about who this woman actually is. But it won the Nobel Prize for Fiction, so I thought it must be good. And it's also quite short. It's like, I think 200 pages. Yes, a little over 200 pages. And then the last short book I picked up is Mary Gaitskill, Bad Behavior. This is a collection of short stories all about 1980s New York, probably with the going out scene, work, life, sex. Very intrigued by this book, especially because of the cover. That's why I picked it up. So this is also a short one with some short stories that I don't really read that often, so I'm excited. So I will keep you updated on how many of these books I'll be able to read in the next week, because I plan on making it into a very cozy self-care week because I don't have much work to do, which is so lovely. I'll be staying, as I said, at my friend's house to cat sit the cat, and I just plan on doing nothing because I haven't really taken a week off from work in a very, very long time and really try to relax a lot. And yeah, I hope you're going to like this vlog. Give it a thumbs up and let's tackle my TBR. I am not in my own home, as you could see from the previous clips. I'm cat sitting at Sar the cat. I have actually started reading 2 of the short books that I brought with me. First of all, Devotion by Patti Smith. I just realized that the first part of this book is a little like non-fiction part about her writing routine and just a bit of traveling, and then the middle part of the book is actually a short story, which is interesting because I didn't know that she also wrote short fictional stories. So I'm reading that one right now. It's a little bit disturbing, to be honest, because it's about a very young girl who just turned 16 who is having a sexual relationship with this guy in his late 30s, and it's a bit uncomfortable, to be honest. So it's not like I'm enjoying reading this non-fiction short story or this fiction short story, but I will finish it. I'm like halfway through, and I think the story, like the short story, is only like 20 more pages, and then the end is also some photos and some little stories about her life. So that is one. Then I also started reading the poems by Rilke, and I am glad that there was like a really long introduction, because before all the poems, I think there were like 10 pages of just an introduction about Rilke and his life, and if I didn't know any of that, the poems, or like some of them, wouldn't really make that much sense. So I'm very happy that that long introduction was there, because I also learned quite a bit about Rilke's life. Honestly, I didn't know anything about Rilke, to be honest, so I'm very happy that that was this long introduction. And of course the poems, and then the poems just make so much more sense because you know like in which kind of area of his life he was in, or like in which part of his life he was in when he wrote those poems. So I'm enjoying this one a lot. I'm still not really a poetry person, but that's fine, you know, I'm trying, so that is fun. And this is also my life, 24/7 of me being here. I don't know if you can see. It's like this annoying, I'm a little bit allergic to cats, so sometimes my skin is just like, well, what are you doing? You're allergic. So those are the books that I really hope to finish, maybe today even, because I made sure that I don't really have to do a lot of work while I'm here. It is Wednesday today and I have 0 plans, which is really lovely. Okay, it's actually a day or 2 later, but I wanted to give you a little update because I have finished Devotion by Patti Smith, which I actually ended up really enjoying, even though the story itself was a little bit disturbing at times because of this huge age difference. However, the ending of the story, you know, things happened and kind of like redeemed itself for the uncomfortableness that I felt throughout the story. So it was an interesting one. I don't really know how to rate this, but book 1 is done. I'm also very like, this is better. As for my next read, by the way, I'm still reading the poems. I'm finding this difficult to like kind of binge read because there's just so much that I want to kind of, you know, read it quite slowly, and because it's not one entire story, it's just like my struggle with reading poetry. I can never read an entire poetry book in one go, if you know what I mean. So I'm just taking this one slow. But for my next read, it will be one of these 2, The Years or Bad Behavior. However, I've decided to let Sar, who is lying here behind the sofa, to pick my next read. Let's have a look. Okay, Sar, which one shall I read next? You go and pick one. Oh, okay, this one. My next read will be The Years by Annie Ernaux. Thank you for helping me. Oh my god, look at me turning into a cat lady. Okay, so the book that Sar picked is The Years by Annie Ernaux. I'm very excited to read this one. I was hoping he will pick this one. And this is, as I said, like briefly in the beginning, a non-fiction book all about her life and experiences. And the thing is, I don't really know much about her. That's why I like reading just memoirs, to learn about new people and new kind of insights into life and living. And I'm excited, so I will keep you updated on this one. and you will never believe what just happened. That was a nice rhyme. I have got COVID for the 4th time. This definitely was not on my bingo chart, especially getting COVID on New Year's Eve. So I'm not going to go to my friend's house. I just ordered some groceries so I can do a little, you know, like baguettes with dips tonight to still have a kind of a cozy New Year's Eve with lots of nice food. Unbelievable. There is nothing I can do about it. New Year's is just a new day. I will give you a little update on this book. I am currently on page 56, so I'm like a quarter of the way through. I'm enjoying it. It is interesting the way it's written. So it's basically just a whole like storyline of her life ever since from when she was really young and also during the Second World War all the way to now, or like it says to 2006. But the way it's written is very interesting. Like, let's see if I can find some examples. Many of the parts in this book are basically just a few sentences of like a new event that happened, and it's interesting. Like she's not really mentioning names, for example the children and they, you know, her family, but still I don't really feel like it's really personal, as in it's extremely personal because she's really getting deep into her life, but I don't really know who these people are, if you know what I mean. So it's interesting. I don't really know what to think about it yet, but I will continue reading today. By the way, look at this cute bookmark. It's from Leora from Books with Leo. I will link it down below. But yeah, I just don't really know what to think about it yet. I will continue reading it today. I actually do hope to finish it today so that I can also continue with the poetry book. Or maybe I'll read a couple of poems now. I don't know. I'm also watching Gilmore Girls because I don't really know what to do now. So I did, as I said, I did order some groceries, and I also ordered some oliebollen, which are a typical Dutch New Year's Eve snack. They're basically doughy balls, deep fried, and they're filled with raisins, and they're really good. Normally I didn't really like them very much. I usually just ate one on New Year's Eve just to like get the taste and be like, oh yes, now it's really New Year's Eve, because it does really taste like New Year's Eve, if you know what I mean. But I actually got 2, and I already ate a few weeks ago as well. So I don't know, I think I'm starting to like oliebollen. You just put powdered sugar on there, so that was nice. It does feel like New Year's Eve. What I'll be doing tonight is just sit in front of the TV, watch the top 2000, which is also a big Dutch like New Year's Eve tradition. It's where from the 1st of December people can vote for their favorite songs, like their all-time favorite songs, and then we have the entire top 2000 of the 2000 best songs ever. And every single year, or like almost every single year, Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen is #1. Luckily it's #1 again this year because it is such a brilliant song. And now I just have this tradition with myself, like the last song I have to listen to every single year is Bohemian Rhapsody. And then, you know, once it ends, like any way the wind blows, and then they're going to do the countdown. So that's why I always just love watching the top 2000. But now it's like 10:15. Let's finish my Gilmore Girls episode and then do some reading, I guess. Oh my god, there's nothing I can do. This is so boring and stupid because I honestly feel like 95% fine. I've got a little bit of an itchy throat, but there's oh well. There's nothing I can do about it. I'll keep you updated. Happy New Year, everyone. It is a few days later. I am back home again, as you can see. I'm also all good again, and I wanted to give you some final reading updates because the last day of the year was incredibly successful when it comes to reading. Because I finished both of these books, meaning that I read 70 books in total in 2022, which I'm very happy about. First of all, let's start with the poems that I finished second to last. This was the last book I finished, but I enjoyed this one. The thing is, I'm still not really a poetry person, and I felt like I didn't really understand many of the poems very well. English is not my native language. This is quite old, like the language is quite old. It's of course translated from German, but the language is quite old, and I just felt like I couldn't fully understand all of the poems, which was a shame. I tried to read them quite slowly, but I just could not really get into it properly. There was this one poem from his from the Uncollected Poems, which I really liked. I felt like this chapter is called, like, from the Uncollected Poems between 1906 and 1926. It felt like those I could understand a lot better than all the earlier ones. I don't really know if I want to rate this. It was just, I'm glad I read some more poetry. Maybe I will get into it one day, you never know. But then this one. Okay, remember how I told you that she didn't really mention any names, and I kind of had to get used to it. I was like, I don't really know if I understand very well how she's trying to tell this story. But then I looked at the back again, and then it all made sense, because it said, No invents a form that is subjective and impersonal, private and communal, and a new genre, the collective autobiography, in order to capture the passing of time. When I read that, everything made sense. This honestly is a whole memoir, like an autobiography of an entire generation. And that is why she constantly said she, or they, or the children, or, you know, it was just about an entire group of people. Even though some stories were very focused on this one person, maybe her, maybe someone else, but I also kind of understood or thought that these experiences probably happened to many more people in that same generation. And when I realized that, I flew through it, and it was so good and so interesting. At the same time, it also made me so grateful that I was born in the mid-90s and not around the time that she was born, especially as a woman, because I tabbed quite a few things and underlined quite a few things, because she's talking a lot about, you know, women and voting, sexual freedom for women, and for example people like Simone de Beauvoir and how they got so much inspiration from her, but then at the end of the day women still didn't really have that many rights, or they still couldn't have the freedom that they wanted to. So I'm super happy that I continued reading, because at the beginning I was just like, I don't really know what I'm reading, but damn, this was so good, and I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. So that is super exciting that I started a year with a 5 out of 5 star book, The Outsiders, and I ended it with a 5-star book. So this was a very successful week. Then also, we're not done yet. In the new year, I started a new book, namely Bad Behavior by Mary Gateskill. This is a very interesting one. As I said, these are short stories that take place in the 1980s in New York, and they are a little bit more sexual than I expected. I did expect, you know, there to be sex and drugs and party and just, you know, lots of different types of people, but they're very, very sexually oriented, so do keep that in mind if you want to pick this one up. But it's very interesting reading about these different characters and the way that they are thinking, and, you know, the reasons behind doing certain things that they are doing. I don't know, I am enjoying it. It's not my favorite. I don't know what, you know, what I'll think of it in the end. I've read like 3 short stories now, and definitely a book a little bit out of my comfort zone, which I quite like, because I want to read more outside of my comfort zone. So this is the book that I'm currently reading. However, I am going to end this vlog here. This was a super successful reading week because I read nearly 4 entire books. So I definitely tag on my TBR. And in the new year, I'm also just most definitely going to try to read many books of my physical TBR, because there are over 120 and I want to get that number down. I really hope you liked this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, and if you want to comment something but you don't know what to comment, comment some fireworks emoji because of the new year. Thank you again so much for watching. I hope you had a very lovely New Year's Eve and a lovely day, and I will see you in my next video.